It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the September 7th Select Board meeting. Start out with the minutes.
Move we accept the minutes.
Of the October 17th.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions, errors, omissions? All those in favor? Abstention? One abstention. They have passed. Public comment. Any public comment? Seeing none. General assistance public hearing.
I'll give an explanation. This year there are two items that require passage by each of the individual town boards across the state. This is the state general assistance ordinance. I don't have the amounts that's been changed on it. It's 115 pages long. It is one that we follow all the time with just a few of the changes that the state requires for it when we do general assistance, what the requirements are for people as far as applying and our approval and so forth. The other part of it is I don't know how to make that one larger, the GA maximums. This is what you see every year, and I can explain to you what the difference is. So this year, the overall maximum for qualification is $690 for one person in the house, $737 for two in the house, $846, $1,118. These are the food maximums that we can disperse out for one person, 58 to 106, etc. Heating fuel, the amounts that the maximum that we give out for fuel each month is 50 for September, 100 for October, November's 200, etc. Housing maximums, unheated, the figure that we go by is $127 per week towards rent. Heated 150 for no bedrooms, up to 4 bedrooms, 269 to 331. The amounts, if somebody needs personal care or household supplies and they qualify for that, there's 1 to 2 in there. It's $45 per month or $10.50 per week. Those instances we almost always go through Food City if they need food, if they need personal supplies. In the same thing with food, we go through Food City too. We send a voucher down to them and Food City builds us. A supplement if they have children under 5. This is their additional supplement if they qualify from the town. And electricity, this is the amount that they would qualify for this. What we cannot do is go back and pay past month's bills. They have to make arrangements as far as doing that. Now, the question you always ask is, what is the difference from previous years? And that they sent out too. So the overall maximums amount, one person in the household, that went up $7, 2 to 8, 3 to 9, 17. Food maximums that we can give vouchers out for, $10.70 weekly, or they said monthly 10, so I'm not sure. That doesn't quite look right to me. It'd almost be $40 is what their monthly amount should have been. 2 people at $17.07 for the week, $85 for the month. That's the increase that you can give out, the maximums for food. And then,
jeez, that's terrible.
That's for general assistance. Well, I'll tell you, yeah, you can ask a question if you have a comment on it, just a second. Housing, the amount to pay out it went up $2 to 4, monthly $7, $9, and so forth. So remember, all of these, if somebody needs general assistance, they come in, fill out the application. we have to take the sources of all of their income and we match it against, if they're if they've gone over the maximum in the income they already have. Like some people may come in and they think that they can't pay their bills, but they're over the maximum of what GA would be for. And we have to say they're over the maximum. We can't
qualify.
Yeah, we can't give you funds for that. In the wintertime, we have assistance from Western Maine Community Action with heating fuel. We always make sure that people sign up for heating fuel assistance also through Western Maine Community Action. We honestly have not in recent years had as much, except last year we had a lot of cremations, which were, I don't think that's on this one.
It's in the other one.
It's in the other one. It's over $800 now is what our amount is to pay out per cremation. So all of this comes out of, it's one of our line items in our budget. And I think we increased it a little bit this year because cremations, you take 4 cremations and that's wiped out 3/4 of our budget for the year, versus paying for the others. So we help, we do assist in any way that we can with people as long as they meet the qualifications and so forth, or work to help find, but they have to truly be in need.
Keith?
So they're all dollars except heating fuel, correct? Heating fuel says gallons.
Heating fuel is gallons, yeah.
So you have to track the amount of money you spent to not exceed the overall maximum, right?
So I think I said the overall maximum incorrectly. Person in the household, that's their income that they have coming in.
Okay, so there's no maximum on how much we can spend on someone in need?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. For every person that's called into this state, we have to call in the state to get any of their background information. And a lot of times Cindy's the one that does GA. I don't do that now. She'll go over a lot of it with them just to see what works the best. Because you don't want to enable somebody, but you want to assist people that are in need. She's not here to tell it, but each year we check, or for most of the years we check who's going to deliver a quantity as small as 50 gallons, because not everybody's going to go out for 50 gallons, and what their pricing is going to be. There are some cases, and of course some of it is propane, or, no, not propane, but it would be...
Propane is on there, down at the bottom, up to 1,000 gallons of propane.
Okay, but I'm saying, like, they may get a small amount in 5-gallon buckets, enough to get them through till somebody can come in and deliver them in the next month.
Tom?
Yeah, so I'm not sure I agree with you as far as the overall maximum. Is $690,
For one person, for their maximum income they've got coming in.
so is that their actual income, $690 per week?
Per month.
Per month, okay,
Yeah.
all right, that makes sense to me.
Per month.
So, in the past, we've always set the rates, or voted to, the state really sets the rates.
State sets these rates.
But we've always voted to adopt them.
Yep.
But this year, it's a whole ordinance that we're,
And the ordinance has been updated. So you've got the rates and you've got the ordinance. It's been a while since they've made any changes to the ordinance part.
And if I
Tom?
remember correctly, don't we get reimbursed theoretically by the state?
We get reimbursed 75% by the state.
75%, whatever we spend.
Whatever we spend, we get 75% back in a check, and we put that into our revenues. Yeah, it used to be 50, and then at the state level, it changed to 75%. And we did go over the budget last year because, like I said, there were 4 cremations. It wasn't by a huge amount. I didn't look that up before I came here.
I'm making a motion to approve both.
Now we're in
Yeah.
public hearing.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Trying to beat me, huh?
Let's wait until we get to item 4. Any questions on the ordinance? Seeing none, I'll take us out of public hearing. Now we'll move on to number 4, consideration of general assistance ordinance and maximum summary sheet. Now's your turn, Keith.
Go ahead. No.
I move to accept the ordinance.
I
Just
second.
the ordinance.
So we have a motion before us. Any questions?
Did we have a second?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Tom second.
Okay.
I didn't hear.
Phil moved it. Seeing none, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen.
No,
No,
He only said one.
maximum summary sheet also.
I thought I said that.
I thought it was the
That
ordinance.
motion was-
But did
I
you-
just heard him say ordinance.
I did just
I
say
heard him
You
just
did?
say
I'm happy to
ordinance.
move that as well, though.
Keep up.
Second.
Sorry.
Second.
So, any questions on the summary sheet? Seeing none. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Just trying to make it challenging tonight. 6 Gilbert Street update.
After our last meeting, you had requested dye put in to the tank. Hay bales put out into certain places. We've taken pictures of all of it. You've had it on the Google Docs. I'll bring up some of the pictures in just a minute. And also to get like Ransom Consulting to come up and take some further tests, which we have done that. Heinz was involved with that all throughout, including putting the dye in, taking all the pictures for us, and being there when Pete Scher from Ransom took the test samples. Are you ready to bring that part up?
Do you have the paperwork from Ransom?
I do, it's just a matter of finding just which one. Do you want the bacteroids test, or do you want the?
Well, they
Okay.
came up and did,
Thank you.
they came up and did, you guys requested that we bring Ransom in, so they came up and from the 3 same spots, they came in, they took E. coli samples, and then they went back the next day and they took DNA bacteroid sample, I can't even pronounce it. So, and what they did is they tested for human or animal. So the first rounds of tests, when they were looking for E. coli and coliform, they found E. coli at the first in the lake of less than 1. Of the first spot, which was behind, as we walked up the stream from the lake, there was that one red house, was behind the house, and then the second spot was pretty much just down of Route 2, down from the culvert. So from the first spot, they found 4.1 colonies of E. coli, and on the one up above, less than 1. Coliform, they did find, and that was the middle spot. That one had less than 2,400 coliform. So the next test, what that one tested is that one tested for was it human or animal. They came back none detected for the human on all 3 sites, and there was one on the animal site, which was the higher one, the one just below the culvert at Route 2. So, like we said all along, wasn't sewer. This proved it. I also took about 12 different E. coli samples. Every time I went with Ransom and we took samples, I took some of my own just to compare them. They all come back within 10 of each other.
Tom?
Yeah, just so I'm clear, the bacterial-eyed, whatever it is, and the other are actually trying to characterize by their chemical structures where it came from.
Correct. You can tell the difference between human gut and animal gut.
Because of the kind of bacteria that grow in my gut versus a dog's gut.
Correct.
So what they did is they were able to go back and test that and find that with that site that was 2,400, the genetics, if you will, of that site show it's related to an animal of some kind.
Correct.
Do you know if that house or those people have dogs or animals?
I don't know if the people do at the house, but I know it's right next to the town park where people are always walking their dogs.
But there could be other animals living in the
Yeah.
woods too.
Oh, there's a skunk that was in there. There's sign of other animals as well. I also, some of the photos I took when I was in there with John Massey, like there was an old dumping site where they dump trash. I mean, nothing recently within 5 years, but there's definitely piles of stuff in there as well.
That's on the Route 2 side.
Yeah, that's up by site number 3. That is actually just right in front of me at where site number 3 is, and that stuff is just beyond in the woods.
So if I may, David, I remember when, back in a long time ago, the Penobscot, the west branch of the Penobscot was actually characterized as water class B, even though it had no development on it, because of the bacterial counts that were in it. So it came down from class A to class B.
Related to animals, nature.
Beaver.
Beaver, deer.
This right here, I should have had it up when he was saying his different sites. This is Route 2. This is Gilbert Street. This is where the property in question is. This is where the septic tank is located. So the culvert is, this is where it starts right here, goes across the road, and I'm assuming this is one of the test sites?
That's site number 2, yeah. Site number 1 is the lake all the way up top. Site number 2 is that one right there where your cursor is, and then site number 3 is the one closer to Route 2.
And site number 2 is when you had the high
Correct.
colophone.
And actually, is that where the culvert was, where it showed the rusty water?
Yeah, the culvert's just right up within 50, 20 feet of it.
Okay.
I mean, we brought in people from the DEP. They looked at it, they said the same thing everybody's been saying the whole time. It's not sewer.
Well, one of the things is we've been going up there checking to make sure that the tank hasn't overflowed since August 16th.
After every rainstorm I go up, I put in 2 things that die. So if you look at it, it definitely looks like that the tank got slimed by the Ghostbusters. It is green, but the idea was I wanted to see anything, if anything right there, if anything came out of the ground, if anything leaked, that would leave a trail. After every storm I went up, I took photos of the lid, I took photos of the side of the driveway showing that nothing overflowed, nothing has overflowed, nothing is overflowing. And that green it's still green.
Yeah, I'll find that. I think the last one you did was the 27th. There's the 23rd.
Do we know the schedule for replacing the system yet?
Yes, we do.
Yep, I'll let Charlie tell you the schedule part.
Are you all set, Heinz? Or have you got more?
No,
I'm sure
I'll let him.
he might have more.
Okay.
This is the tank on the 27th. So that was 9 days later. They hadn't emptied it at that time or anything, but scheduled.
Just as a point of interest, I just was up there, and that's about the level of the tank right now. So the schedule, I was there with Peter Thayer from Western Maine Community Action, and Harris, Rodney, and his son Seth. And they have a design, they're planning to put it in. One of the things we wanted to kind of discuss would be with the property owner there, because he seems to have been, putting posts there. They'd like those to be able to be moved to get the equipment up so that they can do the job, and they're ready to probably do it, and it would probably be done by October. So, and the other, of course, thing is on the back side where the leach field will be. I think I was describing it, it's going to be a tank with a pump that will pump up behind where the resident has more land. But they will have to take down some trees, and they'd like to drop them on your land and then pull them off.
Don't look at me and talk to me in that manner.
I'm sorry.
I'm telling you right now that that property is posted, and it's posted for a reason.
So this is you're
It's kind
updating
of
the board and just address us, please.
Yeah, it's turning into sort of a civil dispute over this. But there is plans, it can be done. There likely would end up being a lien on the property that would be forgivable to the current resident. but it would stay with the property should she depart.
Okay. Any questions of the board for Charlie?
Do you want me to, I'm sure, you know, in the audience when you ask, typically we don't get involved in civil cases. There is an easement in the deed to that property that's been used about 30 years. What was supposed to be a road, a town road that never got built. So this right here is supposed to be a town road that never got built. My understanding is that when the survey was done, the interpretation is that road should have been over here more, hence the posts in there to not use that easement. The problem with that is Western Maine has said that they may be able to bring a dumpster up there to clean up the property also, but they can't get up past these posts. In Western Maine, the company that was to put in the tank, same thing. And the logging company, you know, they're just afraid they can't get on up through there. And even the company that empties out the tank, it's difficult. So that's the only reason that that's brought in. Typically, we would not get involved in cases, but we don't want to be in a position where the abutting property owners come back to us and say we didn't follow through because the companies that want to do this aren't able to.
Keith?
There is a town right-of-way up through there?
No, it's not a town right-of-way. It's an easement on the deed for that property, and what it goes through, or what it was supposed to go through, is there was back in, I think it's 1969, if I'm remembering the correct date, was supposed to be potentially a town road built there. It never was. So that's how that driveway sort of originated. I can't tell you if over time, as people to that house kept traveling it, that they themselves, you know, as you're driving up a driveway that's not well maintained, kind of got moved over so that when it was surveyed, the interpretation is that it's supposed to be someplace else.
Keith?
So I am not following what you're saying. Either it was a town road right-of-way or it wasn't.
It's an easement in their property that originally went over an area that was going to be a town road, but never got built. But there's an easement listed in that property deed that gives them the right to travel up that road. The interpretation is, where is that driveway that was going to be a road supposed to be? But now putting the stakes in, there's trees on the other side, so can these trucks, they're saying that with the hauling up the septic tank, hauling up logging trucks, hauling up a roll-off to clean the property, they're not able to get through there. That's it. That's
Okay,
what
but
it is.
Tom?
where would they go if there was no road there?
There would be they would go up a driveway. That's a driveway. That's what they would go up. That's a driveway that's her driveway that's been used since 1969.
And it's posted now? Her driveway is posted?
Yes.
No.
Well, the easement part. I mean, the stakes are put there.
The easement is open.
It's the
She has her
interpretation
easement.
of it.
The posts are 1 foot off the right of way on my property.
But, can I ask him?
Sure.
But the easement has trees in it, correct?
No, the easement has garbage in it,
Okay, but no trees?
full of garbage, like dumpsters full. That's why they keep encroaching on me. That's why the posts are there.
So do you want us to help get it cleaned up or
Now
not?
haul it out on your back, I don't care. The posts are staying.
So I guess they can't haul it out. There's no legal reason to tell them to haul it out other than they can put the
That's
septic
fine.
system.
Then that's the end of the discussion.
What would you like?
That's the end of the
No,
discussion.
I just want to know what you.
Stop, stop.
So let me say
Stop.
this to David. David, it's too bad that a neighbor can't help a neighbor to get a mess cleaned up. It's really
Well,
sad.
wait a second. The
No, no,
neighbor-
no.
You
I'm
need
not-
to be quiet, please, back there.
So it's very sad that a neighbor won't help a neighbor get a mess cleaned up and a septic system replaced. It's very sad. So I guess they'll have to go up the driveway and we won't clean up the mess.
We'll continue to work with Western Maine Community Action and see what the next steps are. But they're ready to replace the septic. They thought they may have funds to clean out the garbage with a roll-off, which would be the quickest way. And, but they do need to get, also, in addition, a truck up there to cut down trees. So that's.
So I know there was some efforts being made on a legal injunction. Have you heard any update on that?
I have not heard any update on that.
Okay,
No.
thank you.
That
Heinz?
would come from the homeowner.
Heinz, did you have more?
Yeah, pretty much all I want to say is, this has been going on for a while. There's a lot of town money, a lot of my ratepayer money, and a lot of town taxes involved in this. Just because somebody's thrown a conniption because they didn't get their way. I personally feel we need to bill them for ransom and for my work. I had to buy all kinds of extra chemicals, reagents, vessels. It's not cheap. I have to budget everything out. If everybody else in town can figure it out, 2 people can't. I don't see why everybody else in town has to pay for them.
Do you have the bill amounts?
Pardon me?
The bill amounts?
Ransom's around 4,000. Mine's about just $400 or $500 just for supplies, plus a whole lot of time.
I guess my thought would be it's worth asking legal counsel what recourse the town has in that regards.
And on the property too, I would agree,
In on what?
on being able to access the
Being
property.
able to access that property?
To deal with the issue.
That's correct.
Okay, so I will contact legal counsel tomorrow on that and ask those 2 questions. All right.
Anything else?
Yes, question.
Barry?
I would like the board to entertain a motion to
You can stay back there, please. This, just address the board.
take a material sample of this material that still exists in the creek, or if not, because of the heavy rains flushing the creek, to test under the locations where this was, near the playground, Bass Park, leading directly into the lake, which I tested on August 5th. And it came back from the Augusta lab as primarily raw sewage.
Holy crap.
I would just rebut his statement. When this gentleman first saw this particular paper, he says, that's rust. I said, what? He's been in this business and he told me how many years. That's rust. The second time I saw him, on another date, he said, this is decaying plant material.
It's a mixture of both.
And I would ask the board to take a simple material test of this that remains.
And so, Barry, may I ask, what are we gonna test for?
You're gonna test for raw sewage.
You don't test for
Just
raw sewage.
Tested that
That's what we
very
did. I tried to
sample.
The samples that this
Okay, guys,
gentleman
one at a
took-
time.
The samples this gentleman took were running water above this material. Very carefully with a beaker, very carefully with the steadiest hand I've seen. He held it up and that glass was clear. The next time up, in the second spot, he did the same thing with a beaker. He held it up, I said, his name, Heinz, get down into the material. He got down in there and he got a little speck that looked like a little brush off in the barbecue grill.
Just
Okay.
because you're hearing the wrong thing doesn't mean you're right. You keep asking us to pay taxpayer funds because you can't take.
Okay,
no for
gentlemen.
an answer.
I can
We're
take.
gonna bring this
all I
back
wanna
to a
know-
board discussion.
All I wanna know is what it is. Is there a danger to the people who use the lake? And I reported this to the town manager of the report that I had on Friday, the 6th of August. And I would very earnestly say, would you entertain a vote amongst the board to take a simple sample? I paid for it, it's less than $35. Take a sample of sand, I dug into it and I got some of this stuff.
Okay, Barry, we've heard you. So let the board have discussion about it.
So, I tried to explain to Mr. Hathaway that you do not test solids. You test the DNA or the characteristics that are in the water, looking for what's there, because you cannot test for that material. That's what they did. Now, that's a test that's new to me, because I've never done it before, but you test the water because the structure of those organisms, if they are organisms, come out. So what are we gonna test for if we send it to them? I don't have any idea. We can certainly look into testing for what those organisms are, but there's no way to test for them. I'm just telling you, Barry, there is no way to test for this.
So I
They
would ask,
tested it for me.
I would ask the board, is there any desire to move forward on more testing? Keith?
Just to be clear, this is an area that was tested by Ransom?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I trust Ransom and what their outcome is.
And it was also visited by the DEP, by Jim Crawley, to look at the site.
Phil, any?
I
would-
sent
I
a
would-
report from Jim.
Yep.
They are taking water samples, not returning samples.
You don't test it, so let me, what I would ask if Heinz would look into if there is any method to test the solids as to what they are.
He told me that he couldn't.
I didn't-
Please,
I didn't-
Barry, we've heard you.
I would ask Heinz, and I would make a motion that we find out if there's any procedure to test the solid material, to characterize what it is.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded.
Do we want to ask Ransom as opposed to Heinz, just because
Yeah,
of
Ransom,
closeness to
yeah.
the...
Yep, that'd be fine.
Process.
They would
Gentlemen
know.
would like to be recognized.
And the bill to be, Mr. Hathaway said he would pay for it.
Well, let's find out what the method is.
Mr. Hathaway said he had already paid for his. I expect the town to pay for the health and safety protection of the people of Wilton and people using the lake. I am not gonna pay for this test. I've already paid for one that came back raw sewage. So for the record, Barry Hathaway is not gonna pay for a $35 test that the town should have been taking months ago.
And for the record, Mr. Hathaway is absolutely wrong with what he's just said. So I have a motion on the floor, let's vote on it.
So,
Excuse me.
any comments?
Excuse me.
We're in a meeting, so
Same here. I got my hand raised for a
You
reason.
don't have to recognize him.
Excellent.
any other questions about the motion?
Wow.
Seeing none, all those in favor?
Smell that lawsuit, man?
All right.
Point this out. This is the culvert.
Yep.
That's where, the culvert is decayed a lot. There's a lot of rust colored material coming from that culvert.
Okay.
That was one of the locations.
And actually, if you go to most of the culverts in town,
They're
on
wrong.
the saw side, on the exhaust side, they all have that exact
Mark, do you
same.
have something?
Yes. So we did hire a site evaluator. And he came in, looked at the site, where the samples were took it. It hadn't rained for 5 days. The culvert was dry, the brook was dry, but the bank was leaching water. He suggested and recommended was to test the soil. So we're gonna move forward to testing the soil.
So,
Whether you guys believe it or not, we will move forward with that. So when we get the results, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. Because you seem to have an issue with it.
no, I'd like to know, if you wouldn't mind, if you would like me to support your concept, is to have what protocols he's going to use, what he's going to test for, so that I understand when there is... And I'd like to know who the site evaluator is and what his credentials are.
He's been doing it since '79.
I didn't ask about that, I asked, what is his
We'll
credentials?
have it taken care of, we'll get you
I would
results.
like to see a full report of it, and if you don't want to bring a full report of
We
it and
will.
give that to us, then, okay,
That's-
great. I don't
that's
even know
the
what they're
whole
going to
point.
test for, I have
Just
no
have it
idea.
tested.
All right. We all set to move on?
Yep.
Thank you. 124 Prospect Street, quick claim deed.
Move we issued a quick claim deed.
And moved and seconded. Any questions?
That was the one auction?
Yes.
The total of the auction is $44,000. We have received payment. Everything's all done.
All those in favor? It's unanimous. Blueberry Fest update, recap.
I ain't changed the wording. Do you want to go over?
Well, we're just waiting for some more funds to come in. We're trying to
Yeah.
sort out with LEAP. The money's supposed to come over, was sent last week.
And that money's coming directly to the town?
That's correct. Now, how we put it back and what we do with it, that'll be up to the town. But one of the things I've asked Rhonda to check into is that anything that was made as a donation to LEAP was made to a nonprofit, and I don't think we can replenish our budget with it directly. It would be held over for next year, but we have to verify that. Other monies that came in, I don't care what you do with it. You could either leave it in the account, put it back in the unreserved account. For next year, it's either your choices, but I think the money that we have coming back from LEAP, which is about $6,700, not sure whether you can just put it back into the undesignated funds. But I gotta find out.
Rhonda?
Or maybe you know.
No, I don't. But in addition, there were donations made directly to the town of $1,649 plus the $6,700 to LEAP. There were 2 more checks that came in while Linda's been out, so there'll be a little bit more on the total donations. So it'll be above the $8,300, and then when it gets down to the expenses, there is 1 more expense for the porta potties.
So when we're all said and done, we'll have a breakdown of what was donated
Yep,
to LEAP as far as for a non-profit.
yep, right here. Yep. So far,
We know.
there may be more, but
A breakdown, you're asking individual,
Right.
yes, not a total.
it's right here. These are the ones that donated.
Oh,
to-
okay.
And that was to LEAP.
That
So
went
that
through
people
to
could
the-
make it a tax
Tax
deduction.
Tax, right, no,
And
no.
that's why I said, I don't know if that money is easy to, whether we have to keep that as a separate Blueberry Fund account or we can reimburse ourselves with it into the undesignated. I don't know that answer.
And these were funds that were donated, like that one specifically to the parade, that one on behalf of Shannon. And then these other donations came into the town. And then, as you can see down here, we transferred over into this account the $13,000 that the board had voted, and we also have in that as the $3,000 that had been approved at town meeting. So there's going to be a slight change in total revenues. There'll be a slight change in total expenses. We should have that this week. It's going to be in this range, total remaining.
There's also a donation that I made that's not in there, but that went directly to buy the chamber bucks to give to the parade winners and to the Blueberry cook-off.
We should put that down.
I'll put it, I'll give it to you.
Should
I
be
don't-
accounted.
It should be accounted
That'll be
for.
accounted for. I'll give it to you.
So,
Moving forward, I would like to see discussion around, I know there's been a little discussion as far as like Lisbon has, their rec department manages their Moxie Fest or whatever it's called, to see if that isn't a worthwhile avenue to go for the future.
can we discuss
Yeah,
that?
what,
Just-
Ron,
that's
did you
the
send
next
it out
part
so
of the
everybody's
discussion.
seen it?
No, I didn't, because I didn't,
I
I
would-
didn't, I sent an email out.
Did you
But
see-
I'll send that out to everybody, but just real briefly, I did talk with the Moxie Festival, which actually was the Town of Lisbon Recreation Department. They hire somebody to plan some events, including the Moxie Festival. And they have the person that's doing their Moxie Festival report to the Recreation Director and the Economic Development Director. Because they count it as economic development. They take the funds to pay for the event person out of their tax increment financing, because you can use that money towards economic development.
Interesting.
They also, in addition to the Recreation Committee and the Recreation Director and the Economic Director overseeing it, have a separate Moxie Festival Committee. So what's kind of been working in my mind thinking of it is, write it up and give it to you to consider for the next meeting, is to look at the possibility of hiring a person that could work on at least 3 events for the town, which some have kind of half happened, some have kind of fizzled, which would be the, Trick or Treat Halloween, the Christmas time event, and the Blueberry Festival. Utilizing funds from the tax increment financing district, you would need to have a special town meeting to approve the funds from there. Utilize also the Wilton group, because they are a 501c3. They could be the other group that would be made up, to committee members to help oversee the Blueberry Festival specifically. Donations could be made there. They get their 501c3 if people are concerned about donations. And the Recreation Department overseeing it. Ultimately, the town manager oversees all of it. So I'll write that up as a consideration. That's pretty much how Lisbon does it.
I'd also like to see, rather than using potentially a third party for the 5013C.
I think we're never gonna
If-
do that again.
Right.
Yeah.
If where the Blueberry Festival Incorporated is willing to sign over that, or
No.
however that ended up being,
Even though they graciously have offered that, we have talked about it, we don't know what liabilities.
well,
are
that's
there.
what I was gonna say, we ought to find out
So it's.
what's involved with it, if it's worthwhile.
I think because we have the Wilton Group and already have a 501c3 and work the way that Rhonda, and we can answer that question certainly as we have the conversation, but that may be the easiest and best way to go do it. Just continue to work through them. They manage the money. That way people that want to make donations have a place they can go. If they're going to do it advertising, they can come through the town. If they're going to go through a charitable donation, they can go through the Wilton organization, and it just becomes part of that mechanism. What we'd have to figure out, and who's in charge of the.
Well, that was-
In other words, on the present one, there's Shannon Smith's name, who's going to be in charge, and do they agree that this is how we're going to operate? We'd have to make sure their bylaws are accordingly, so that we don't run into any more difficulty in the future. So that we have plenty of time, but those are some of the avenues that we have to go down. And I like the idea of having somebody that's really kind of taking care of the events. I mean, it was a success. I really believe it was a success. As we critiqued it the other day, people really seemed to enjoy it. Some thought the fireworks were too short, some thought they were fine, some thought there were no food trucks, but then I was told there was a food truck there.
I was told there wasn't.
I was told
guilty
there
of
was.
that.
When I got down there to clean up that morning, it was easy to do. And I thought, oh, okay. And then somebody said, well, you said there were no food trucks. I said, well, no wonder it was so clean. And then I came in here and said, we didn't have food trucks. Oh, no, there was one there. So it was, people threw their trash away. The road crew went down and cleaned up. So,
That night.
that night, they went down, just finished up in the morning. So all in all, it was success. We just need to figure out how we do it going further. So Rhonda and I will continue to work on it and come back with a plan for you guys.
Can we, when you write up your proposal, just give it to us in advance enough to,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why
We're
we're
just kind of exploring.
exploring it and see if you want to move forward with
I
it.
mean, just last week on
I got
last
most of it
Tuesday,
now.
we had our critique. Tuesday or Wednesday?
Last Tuesday, I think
Tuesday,
it
we
was.
critiqued with the fire department. They were very
Mhm.
satisfied with what happened. The police department, there's some discussion whether maybe we should block the whole road instead of just the part we did, so they could be no worry about traffic coming through. So it was a very good discussion. So we just got to put it all together now.
Right, we know next year we have to work on detours a lot better.
Yeah, and find a way that we put spiked mats down so people don't drive around them. Only kidding.
Only kidding.
Very
But we
good.
will have an updated budget,
And
updated.
once we have
expense
all of that,
amount.
we can decide best how you want to put the money back in again, and we'll have an answer on the nonprofits.
all right, so the town's holding the money. That's-
We'll have, once we have
paid
that
our
check, we
expenses.
will be
paid all
holding the
our
money.
bills
Yeah.
that have come in so far.
And you said we have one bill left to come
We
in.
have one bill left to cover. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to the manager's report.
One call,
Could I ask a question? You people have been talking up there, you can hear it, we can't hear it back here. You don't have a speaker system, so we can hear what you're saying. Are you gonna give back the money to the town that was, that they raised over the amount that they needed? Is that coming back to the town?
Yes.
Like you promised it would?
Yes.
It is.
The one thing that has to be checked out is the money that was donated to the 501(c)(3), how that has to be handled.
Okay, but it is coming back to the
It's-
town?
well, you make a vote on it next
Okay.
time.
Right.
And isn't it up to the town? Shouldn't we discuss this and have an article at the town meeting next year?
That's part of the discussion.
Well, I
that is-
couldn't hear nothing.
That's part of the
I got
discussion that's
hearing aids
coming
in.
forward.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, I would wish that you would involve the town taxpayers into part of the decision.
That actually is part of the discussion that has to happen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I couldn't hear, and I got 2 hearing aids in, and you people are talking so low, I cannot hear Rhonda at
Sorry,
all.
Dennis, I didn't realize you
You
couldn't
ought
hear
to
me.
put a speaker system in so the rest of us can hear it. Or don't even invite us to your meetings.
Okay?
put the money in that instead of Blueberry Festival.
I would object to that statement. The Blueberry Festival is what this town is about, and the people in this town, except for about 5 people, have objected to what we've done, and you're one of the 5. Everybody else has congratulated us for what we did, and that we did the right thing by using the money because we deemed it as selectmen it was an emergency. My suggestion to you and others that might be watching, if you disagree with that, run for selectman and sit in this seat and you make the decision. That's what they gave us the authority.
If I was here full-time, I would.
Why
And I
don't you
would
stay
vote
here
Okay,
full-time?
gentlemen.
Stay
All
here
right.
full-time.
All right, let's
Okay.
get back on the agenda, please. Moving on to the manager's report.
The attorney had, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. I couldn't be heard back there.
Can you hear? Yes.
Thank you, Charlie.
The attorney for the town had sent to the court the suit for One Call Contracting for removal of the signs. However, One Call Contracting just removed the signs, we believe sometime between yesterday and today. There is like a little bit of wood left, that was the base of the sign. Not sure if he is going to remove that or not, but we could always remove that part. It's not the sign itself. The attorney would like to know if you want to continue the suit or if you would like to end it at this point. I can tell you that it is our belief that the owner of those signs will be relocating out of state some point in the near future. At this point, that's what we have heard. Can't guarantee it, but that's what we've heard. So if you want to continue the suit to try to get back some of your funds, which I believe are under 1,000 so far, which she'd like to have a vote on which way you would like to go so she knows what she would need to do.
I guess my personal opinion would be is if the issue is resolved and it truly is resolved, leave it alone. But that's up to the will of the board.
That's what they elected us to do. I just, since it's less than 1,000, I'm in the same place that David has, you know. I mean, to say he's gone, the posts are down, it's interesting that it finally got taken down. Probably got some advice that was a good idea for them to take it down.
Something like that.
Any other thoughts, Phil?
I have a similar opinion. I suspect we wouldn't get the money anyway, even if we were to try, so why bother? I do have one question. My understanding, I thought Charlie mentioned a few meetings ago that there's a law that says your sign needs to be within 1,000 feet of your business or something like that. He doesn't seem to have a presence at Beckett's garage anymore. So,
No.
So is there anywhere within 1,000 feet to put a sign anyway?
Doesn't he
No,
own
he won't.
Doesn't he own that property though? No? Yes,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he could argue that his place of
Yeah, right.
business is the property.
So
Even if he's not conducting business there?
I think we don't go chasing that horse.
Yeah, I'm just curious. It's not
It would be yeah.
All right. Just curious.
Keith?
I do want to say I'm happy that we didn't go after the money a long time ago, because I don't think we should have foot the bill, and it's probably too late now.
So,
Make a motion that we thank our attorney and move on.
Second.
been moved and seconded. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's unanimous.
The only other thing I have to report on at this time, our paving is supposed to start this week. I doubt if it will because of rains and stuff like on Thursday, so we're hoping next week for all of the town road paving. Our downtown parking spaces are supposed to be done right off too. We actually contacted him 3 weeks ago, so I think he's been behind too because of rain. We have put in a new crosswalk down here on Weld Road, across from Cushing Drive. So we tend to have a lot of kids that walk out of Cushing Drive, cross over Weld Road onto the sidewalks, and so basically for us it was the way that they paved in the sidewalks to make soft landings. And the town crew will paint that. We're getting signs. That had been at the request 3 years ago of the police department. It was supposed to be done last year, but with doing this sidewalk paving, they did it this year. There just seems to be a lot of kids that cross there. I think that's it. That's it for right now.
So I would actually like to take out of order other business before we go into the executive session. Keith?
I have one other business. Can you bring up the minutes of the last meeting? Are they right there?
The ones that you just voted on?
Yes.
Okay, right there.
Okay, go down. Wasn't there something about, and keep going, with the fire department, weren't they coming tonight to give us a report?
Yeah, but
Remember
tonight
that
is, so I asked Sunny, because I'd forgotten to before, and tonight is the night of their meetings, so I gave him the option, since they already have a department meeting, I said, how about if we just move you to the 17th? when
Okay,
you're
all
done?
right,
So that was me.
Okay.
Didn't forget them, but it's always rushed when he has to leave their meeting in the middle of their meeting that he's running to come here, so.
No,
I
it
said-
just, there was nothing written anywhere, so I just want to make sure we
Right, I
don't
didn't give
forget
you an
it.
update, yeah, no, I won't forget them, I'm constantly sending out to them, don't forget, you've got to report too. So,
And I have 2 items under other business. One is where we're at with the ATV access, because we've had another request for Temple Road and East Wilton to Temple, to Vernon Pond Road. And then the other issue that we talked about a couple of years ago, then it got put on hold, was the Maine Food Sovereignty Act, LD 725. I know we had discussion about that, and I've had some people ask me where we're at with moving forward on.
I can answer, I think, the second question for you, and that is the people are gonna vote on that in November to make it a constitutional requirement or address the food sovereignty issue at a
But
constitutional.
that's different than LD 725, which was in 2017.
Even with that, it'll make it easier if that constitutional amendment passes for
Yeah.
us to then develop our own rules around that constitutional amendment. So my response, I haven't had anybody ask me, but my response is, let's wait and see what gets voted on in November, and that if we think it's necessary beyond that, to put it on our town meeting warrant to have a conversation about it.
and do an ordinance up prior to
Could
that?
be, but let's see
And
what
let
happens.
'em vote
Yeah,
next year?
I think most towns that I've been around make it a very simple statement. It's not necessarily an ordinance that gives them the ability to sell food in different places. There's some downsides to it because somebody gets sick. I mean, I was in the legislature when a lot of this passed. In fact, I was there in 2017. Was that? Yeah, it was. When it passed, if you sell raw milk and you get sick on it, it becomes, the milk in the state of Maine is tampered. And this is one of the arguments with and I don't buy that argument, but that's one of the concerns. But let's wait until see what happens in November. And even if it doesn't pass, we still can put something on the warrant.
Okay.
That would be a better way for us to approach it, I think.
Any other business?
Well, I want to answer your first one,
Okay.
the ATV access. So this is going back to the ATV access for downtown. The next step had been to go back to Western Maine ATV, which sponsored that application to put it downtown and to come up with the rules. So I did contact them. They have 3 rules that they want to see in it. So now it's put back onto me and Heidi to come up with it. And I just thought, which I haven't done yet, I'll contact the Town of Poland ATV Club, see what theirs is, and then add in the others. So the other 3 things that they had said,
Okay.
which one of them was, the time of night to end at. The time they proposed, I thought it might have been 10 or 11, and I proposed earlier.
Yeah, much earlier.
Yeah, and I don't remember what the other 2 were, but I did write it down, and then we'll go back to them and have them review it and have the police department review it too. But I do remember in some of those comments that were on Facebook that they thought that the town, Poland's ATV Club had some good rules when they were done. And I would also suggest that this be looked at on an annual basis to determine if it continues on for the next one.
I would wonder if Rangeley, because they're big, the town of Rangeley is big with ATV access. They may have some good rules to look at also, just.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Temple too. Temple but they may not have many rules.
So that's the second
No offense,
part
Temple.
of all of this. The town of Temple has requested the same thing, to have ATV access from the Temple line on Temple Road, and to drive the ATVs up all the way down the Temple Road, down to the post office, then access the
Rail bed.
rail bed by Shelley's. So I sent them to the state, like the first ATV club, but the state did say that that's town roads, not state roads, and the town could make the decision on that. Then I started thinking, okay, how are you going to get from the post office to the rail bed? That's a state road. So I sent them back to the state to explain that it does go on the state road, and the state would have to approve that part, because you're either gonna come down off of Temple Road and you're gonna cross right there at that intersection and ride on the road to Shelley's and cross the road again at the rail bed, or you're gonna ride the sidewalk, or you're gonna go against traffic down to the rail bed. So I want them to figure that out with the state.
Yeah, because going down Cemetery Road or street or whatever it is there isn't gonna help at all.
No.
Because you're underneath the,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's already been, there are, you know, I'm not sure if Jardins is still going through with that parking lot up there, and there were concerns about people going down Pleasant, down Railroad, they didn't want to see it, so you start diverting ATVs down Pleasant and Railroad, which is a residential neighborhood, and that might not turn out to be quite so good either, so that's,
Okay.
I discouraged them from that part, that thinking.
Just wanted it back on the table.
Yeah,
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 David,
no,
please-
we've been working on it.
One of the things of timing, I mean, I don't know if it's impossible or enforceable, but if you look at the hunting regulations, they tell you like a half hour before dawn and a half hour after dusk. Because if you go set an artificial time, say it's 8 o'clock, well, 8 o'clock is dark in the fall. So it's got to be something that's flexible. I don't know if anybody else did it that way, but that's pretty well documented of what that is. Because you're fishing, all your licenses and all the times are out there. That would be more acceptable to me. That way you're not riding in the dark and you're not riding before the sun comes up significantly.
Okay.
Thank you. Next up, executive session.
Move we go into executive session part of MRSA 405A personnel.
Second.